So we have one of my favorite cars that we ever built and sold back in service, and it is a 2020 S63 Coupe, which was the final year that the S63 Coupe was built and sold here in the States. That car doesn't exist anymore. It was also the first year that Mercedes-Benz rolled out the designo program, which is now known as Manufacture, and that was a program that allowed you to do special paints that weren't available in the normal build process. And so we ended up building what became the only China Blue S63 Coupe ever imported and sold here in the States. So this is a super, super cool and rare car. It's the only one. We ended up selling it locally. Colin sold it, and Colin's behind the camera today. There it is up on the lift, absolutely stunning vehicle. And I love the fact that it's the only one that ever exists. So we're gonna go and meet with John. John's one of our senior technicians, and he's gonna tell us about what's going on, why this is in for service, because it's getting a really big job done, as you can see here.
This is the rear main seal.
Okay.
And you see the deformity of the seal right here.
Yep.
It caused an oil leak to leak out underneath the vehicle, and the two technicians right here are in the front of the vehicle. So the rear main seal sits behind the flyover wheel right here, and hence the transmission had to be removed. The other core reason is this is what they call is a crankcase breather assembly, and here is the turbos, and this goes right onto the front of the engine where those two technicians are at, and these get stuck. So the engine vacuum does not get fed through back to the engine, so when the engine vacuum creates excessive pressure, causing that to blow out and create an oil leak. These are actually called, the oil separators, oil breathers. Newer modern version of the classic PCV valve. The crankcase has to breathe and ventilate. It got plugged up, caused an oil leak. These are on the front of the engine where those two technicians are at right there, and we will get back and show you a video of that in a few moments.
All right, so what would happen if somebody didn't get this replaced?
The oil would leak all out of the engine and all on the ground and all over the place, and it would cause detrimental damage to the engine because you need engine oil to keep the engine running.
Okay, so if it leaked enough, then eventually the engine might seize?
Yes, correct. You would also have a add engine oil message in your cluster.
Now, was this discovered because of that, or was it just in for routine maintenance?
It was in for routine maintenance, and the technician noticed the large oil. I was looking for some other signs of large oil leak, but no, you kind of cleaned it up. But he pulled down the panels to drain the engine oil, and there is oil all over the place, all over the bottom of the engine, underneath here, and under the transmission. And this is the cause of that because of this.
Okay. You know, a lot of people will look at a high-performance car like this and they'll say, don't buy it because to do a job like this, you got to remove the engine and the transmission. But it just comes with the territory of owning a high-performance machine.
Yes, you are correct. And the manufacturer, they put it together when they marry the car in the factory. Engine and trans and body all go together. So it is designed to come apart from the bottom to service it and work on it.
Yeah.
Now, it is not really time-consuming to bend over the engine bay and try to change all this and struggle work underneath the car to try to get that out of there. Let's just make it all out in the open where you can see everything and take it all apart.
Could you even do it from the top of the car?
You can change these oil breathers, oil separators right here, but here is the coolers, your turbo coolers right here,
okay.
Air coolers, and it sits right in front of there. Yeah. So you have radiator, about that much room, your intercoolers, and then this. So you have to remove all of this up and out in order to access this. Yes, we should probably maybe do a video of get another video of an engine bay where it's all tightly packed in. Yeah. But it's kind of like, let's just bring it out, let's get it all in the open and get everything cleaned up and changed correctly. And there are two of them for each bank of the cylinders.
Yeah.
There are two of them right here.
So it could be done, but it would be complicated.
Yeah, it would be done and complicated. You're kind of pretty much riding the struggle bus, disassembling everything, and then you have to put it together correctly without leaks and assemble the right way, so nothing is, so it's like brand new, like nothing was ever done. Yeah. It's all fixed.
And you probably couldn't clean it up as easily either.
That's another reason is too, clean up all the oil up off the front of the engine from those leaking too and get to everything. And then you have all kinds, you have the low temp circuit coolant, you have the high temp coolant circuit, you got all the coolant hoses, you got to make sure those are connected right, and it just really has to go meticulously assembled.
So how long does a job like this take?
A week, 40 hours.
How many parts total are going into it? How many parts are you replacing?
Well, the rear main is 1. These guys right here is 2 and 3. And going with all the affiliated nuts, bolts, hardware, fluids, because any kind of bolts that come undone for the suspension get replaced. Bolts and hardware to get the transmission out and the drive shaft out. That's a cost. Also, the parts cost I do not know, but the 3 main ones you're changing are this and the 2 breathers that we have right here.
Okay, but all the bolts that you guys are taking out, you're going to replace those?
Yeah,
then?
the suspension ones.
Yeah.
This is the one-time use, the Mercedes-Benz one-time use suspension bolts. You have to replace those. So here's an old one, and actually, is there oil coming out of it? No, sometimes you get oil coming. No, not oil coming out of it. Well, yeah, a little bit. If you want to come around the front. So as I said, here is your banks. Here is how this breather sits in front of turbo. This inlet right here are those intercoolers. So that all sits like that. And then, like I said, then you would have the so all of that, like that, with the radiator and the whole engine bay all around you to try to get all of this off, to get this out.
Wow. It's pretty crazy to see it totally disassembled like that. These are extremely complex machines. I mean, I appreciate you letting me know that this was in this, and Colin, you know this, Colin's behind the camera. This is one of the most special cars I feel like we've ever sold.
Have a great day, guys.
It truly is. Thank you, John. China Blue now is a paint that we see more often because shortly after this, Mercedes-Benz opened it up to the regular building process for G-Wagons and now S-Classes and some GT models. But in 2019, it didn't exist. It was a paint that they, I think, brought back from the 70s. It was one of the first designo special paints that they offered. And we asked them, can you do it on the S Coupe? They said, yes, we can. We made sure it was the only one that was going to be built in that color in the country. I think we ended up doing it on an S580 as well. But we did verify this was the only S63 Coupe to be built in that color. And I love that it stayed local. I love that it gets driven every day. It's got, what, 89,000 miles on it? Almost 90,000 miles on it. So it's cool to see such a nice car that is used as a daily driver. I think a lot of people would absolutely lose their minds to think that somebody would have an S63 with 90,000 miles on it. But you know what? I love the fact that he's enjoying it every single day. So that was a cool one. And there, you got a little glimpse at what goes on behind the scenes in the shop.